decisions, great mound visits, great job not letting the best player beat you.
This one crushed, out to right field. And it's going to be out of here. Pennsylvania walk-off home run. Travis Devonic sends him to Williamsport.
With the 37th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Kevin McGonigal, a shortstop from Monsignor Bonner High School, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's gone. Yes! And it is gone!
Yes!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, his 10th career home run in the postseason. And he may never hit a bigger one.
What is up, Delaware County, and welcome back for episode number 45 of Delco Baseball Now. My name is Brendan Ricciardi. I am joined by Ben Thorpe. And Ben, we got a great episode on hand today.
Oh, dude. We have a couple incredible interviews. You're going to want to stay tuned.
First dual threat interview.
Yeah,
First time we've had 2 different interviews.
Actually, in a way, it's triple.
Oh, if you think about it, that's true. That's true because we got our guys from Bonner Baseball. We got Austin Cannon, Jaxon Kehoe, and Harry Carr. We also have head coach Steve Debarbarie. They come on at different times, so we get to hear a little different perspective. We also have Kyle Virbitsky, an alum of Episcopal and Penn State, now pitching in the Baltimore Orioles organization. And what an interview that was.
Oh, incredible.
That was one of the ones where, like, you can script out as many questions as you want, but the second it starts going, it's like we're just going to talk like it's a normal conversation.
Yeah,
and there
a
are
lot
no
of
cameras here.
great experiences, just a lot of great stories.
You've seen it all.
Really good interview.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Want to take a quick second here to give a shout out to our merchandise shop. So last week I had on the Delco Baseball Now hoodie. I don't unfortunately have it on now, but I've had a lot of people ask about ways that they can represent the brand. So we got everything.
Yeah.
Hoodies, t-shirts, shorts, joggers, different types of jackets, got different types of kitchen stuff like glasses. We just added a shot glass for those cold Delco games in March. Only if you're over 21. We're not getting in trouble here. But, we got blankets. We got stuff for your dogs. We got stuff for your friends. We got stuff for your friends' dogs, your dog's friends. Whatever you need is just go online, delcobaseballnow.com. We have a tab at the top of the screen that just says store, and that'll direct you to a Printify link, which is where we do all of our merchandise from there. More importantly than just representing the brand, it's being able to support us and the other people that are involved with Delco Baseball Now in what we do, because we love doing this, but there comes to a point where we need to be able to have more staff. We need to be able to have more resources, pay for our lovely studio here. And, I think merchandise is a great place to start. So be sure to check something out. We got, I would like to think, reasonably priced
I would say
deals.
so. It's nothing. I don't know. It's honestly probably a little less than what you'd see in another merch store.
I think the most expensive is the puffy jacket is $70, which for a puffy jacket, they're pretty pricey to begin
and
with.
It's good quality stuff too. Like
Absolutely.
we're not just throwing like crap at people.
Yeah,
Like, it's good stuff.
The hoodie's good. It shipped in I think less than a week. I know your stuff will be here soon.
Yeah, it should be. I ordered that on I don't know when the link went out, so it'll be here. Once it's here, you'll see me with a brand new pair of joggers in the phone case finally.
I'm getting that quarter zip. My uncle ordered a bunch of quarter zips, so I want to see how they look. But very excited for that, because I feel like we want to be a little more professional at the games we're at, because right now, like I was wearing the T-shirt to all the media games, and I'm just like, all right, maybe get a golf shirt, right? Like we got I think 17 different color golf shirts that we can get to represent whatever school you're going for. So make sure to check that out. All right, without further ado, we are going to begin our interviews by welcoming on the 2022 PCL champion and 3-time consecutive Final Four appearances, and that's Bonner Baseball. All right, we are now joined by our guys from Bonner Baseball, Austin Cannon, Jaxon Kehoe, and Harry Carr. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you for having us.
Of course. How's the offseason been for all you guys?
Offseason's going good. We can't wait to get going, and we're just ready to rock.
Yeah, it's the same as last year. It's excited to get back. Just can't wait to play the first game.
Well, what do you guys been doing? Like, you guys do mostly team stuff? You guys do individual stuff or what?
So we've been practicing 5 days a week. Monday nights we're up at Westchester All-Star practicing for an hour and a half. Tuesdays we're at Ascent. And then Wednesday, Thursdays lifts, and then Fridays are off day. Saturday we're back practicing 8 to 10 p.m. up at Bell Ringers.
Sounds like you guys are doing a lot of stuff together. I see the stuff with Salvi too, with like the workouts together. You guys have had some new additions to the team this year, both young guys and transfers in. So who are some guys that you've been seeing and expect to be big contributions?
Corey Sheridan, we got him. He came from Sally's. He's a pitcher going to NC State. He's a big guy for us because we need pitching this year. So he'll be a good person for us.
We also have a lot of young freshmen coming in. We have a good freshman class. All those guys are going to make an impact in our program. So
there's a good amount of younger guys on the team. Michael Coleman, Ryan Friel, who are all sophomores. They're definitely going to help the team out. They played a lot last year on varsity as freshmen, and they'll definitely be a big impact towards the team.
In the other side of things, obviously you guys lost a first-round pick, Kevin McGonigal. What do you have to say just about what he meant to the program, both on and off the field?
He was an awesome leader, great teammate, and he was just there for everyone, making everyone better as a player, and yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't say more about him. He's a close friend of mine. He's always there for you when you need him. One phone call or text away. You want to work out, you want to go hit. He's anywhere you want to be, he'll be there.
Yeah, he's someone you look forward to talking to, and he's like an easy person to talk to. Like, he knows everything. If you have a question, ask him. He's a great leader.
So I guess now that Kevin and that senior class is gone, you guys are kind of taking on that leadership role. Do you guys feel ready for that? Like, how do you guys feel about taking on that role?
I'd say most definitely, because us three right here all have been playing varsity for the past 4 years now, and it's just been like the same thing, I guess you'd say. Like, we're ready to rock.
Yeah, we weren't there our freshman, sophomore, junior year, but now since they're all gone, it's our turn to take over.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got a good group, and being with these guys, leading the team, it means a lot. So.
Yeah, obviously, you guys the last 3 years have had a lot of success, 3 state semifinal appearances. What were some of your favorite moments from that run last year?
Last year, definitely the game against Westchester Ruston. We were down 5-3 or 5-2, I'm pretty sure, and we came back late in the game. Our buddy Harry at the end here, he had a big hit. Was that the tying run?
It was the go-ahead run.
The go-ahead run, and that was a big moment. And like being down like that and like coming back, just an awesome feeling.
You were at that game, right?
The Ruston game? Yeah, that was a good one.
That was one where they intentionally walked Kevin, right?
Yeah, they walked him with the bases loaded. It was with the bases loaded, and then you guys came back and won it.
Barry Bonds treatment.
Irv.
It was
Irv. Big hit too.
Yeah.
I was sitting up there with like the Ruston fans, and they were not happy. I don't know,
I'm sure
they were like cocky the whole time. You guys were down and came back, and
real quiet after that.
It got real. It turned to the I forgot what they said, but it turned around real quickly for them.
What about you?
I would say the Ruston game too, because I feel like that's when we became a team and wanted to actually win it, and then we came close as a group.
I would have to say the Bethel Park game. I started that game. They were the defending state champions.
I think 2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
I think they won. I think they won 2 in a row.
They were definitely defending.
Yeah. So that was a pretty exciting game to start, and I had a good time. So.
You guys have made the state semifinals the past 3 years. Twice in 4A, once in 5A. What do you think you guys need to do to get back to that point and surpass that point and get to state college?
Definitely just keep working hard and grinding, take one game at a time and move on to the next. Just this off season is going to be big, and from there on, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple of years we haven't hit in the state semifinals or pitched very well. Obviously, I started that game, did not pitch my best, so I feel like we hit better and play and pitch better, we'll be fine.
Yeah, same thing. Like, our hitting was good up until the state semifinals game. We've all had like clutch moments, so it just didn't go our way the last 3 years.
Yeah, and especially, it's got to be nice for you guys. This core has been together for a little while. It's funny, like, you lose a player of Kevin's caliber, and you kind of look top to bottom. Like, I think this roster might almost be better just in terms of the depth, like how much experience, because you guys have been playing forever. Irv's been playing forever. CJ, I thought CJ graduated last year too, just because I didn't know like how many people, are coming back. And I think how do you feel like that experience is going to like take over this year?
It'll be good. I mean, we've all been playing together since we were freshmen. Obviously, Harry came when he was a freshman from LaSalle. And then we got Matt Shade, Irv, CJ, Quinn, obviously transferred in for junior year. So we're all tight, and we're ready to go to war.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much said it.
You guys, so you won the PCL in 2022. Last year was Father Judge. Just, based on what you saw last year, if you've seen anybody training this year, who do you think are going to be some of the top teams?
I'd say you can't really call out who's going to be the top team because you never know to the game of baseball, but definitely Judge. They have a big arm returning. Newman, there's a bunch of young guys last year. And LaSalle's always a good team, pretty much.
Yeah, the PCL, it's always competitive, so you never know who can win. It could be anyone on any given day.
Yeah, the PCL is the best league in Philly. Like, it's so competitive. Like, even the playoff games, like, they're, like, crazy. But, like, all the teams in the PCL it could go either way at every game, so.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about that last year when O'Hara beat LaSalle on opening day. And, like, we both played in the Central League, so, like, we didn't know, like, too much about the PCL just in terms of, like, the depth of it, the talent of it. And before we recorded, we were talking about the playoffs. And I think that I think the Central League needs to add, like, some 100%. Type of playoffs because, like, it's got to be a cool feeling to be able to go out there and really play for the conference, having that trophy there. Just talk about that. You guys played Wood in that championship game, right? So what was that like? I mean, I think at Penn, right? Is that where it was? Yeah. What was it like, having that atmosphere and playing for that championship?
The atmosphere is unbelievable. I mean, everywhere you look, you just saw Kelly green, yellow shirts, jerseys around you. It was loud. Everyone was, like, amped up and all, so it was just an awesome feeling for us.
Yeah, it was one of the best high school moments I ever had when we just got off the bus and just saw everyone already there waiting for us to go in. The gates weren't even open. They were just sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah, I had a great time. Obviously, that game, I was playing with a broken thumb, so I was like, that was my first game, like, actually hitting. But the atmosphere was crazy. I mean, there's nothing really to describe it. I had a lot of fun, though.
The interesting thing about Bonner is that, being a private school, you guys all, in a sense, chose to go there. So what made you want to play for Bonner and go to school there specifically?
I'd say the coaching staff. Like, for example, Coach Steve, our head coach, he was there for me and Jaxon since we were Little League, coming to our games, supporting us. And then we had that connection with Coach DiMucci as well. He was a Ridley guy. Me and Jaxon both played for Ridley. And he was, like, always, like, talking about me and Jaxon going to Bonner, hyping us up and all, and it was just like, after talking about it all, it was like a perfect match.
Yeah, I would say the coaches, Coach Timmy Phillips, I've been close to him since I was younger. He was our coach for Little League, me and Austin. And then Coach Steve had a big impact, and then Coach Joe, his dad, was really big with that. And then Coach DiMucci as well. He's been talking to me since I was younger about going to Bonner, and it just felt right going there.
So they say, did you go to LaSalle first for freshman year?
I started, I went to LaSalle for a
couple weeks.
Yeah. The only reason why I really went there is because my dad, he coached there. But then I told him I was thinking about transferring. And then he got me in contact with Coach Steve, and we just went from there. But, yeah.
So you guys have been playing together before Bonner as well, some of you guys?
Yes, me, Jaxon, and Irv have.
Well, probably Ridley, I guess.
Yeah.
Ridley, Little League, yeah. All right, so we kind of talked about this a little bit with the playoff atmosphere, but it seems like the Bonner fan base is just unbelievable. Like, whenever I would make posts about different teams, like, I feel like the ones that would spread the most were the Bonner. I think the most passionate alumni that I can think of. Like, what's it like being able to represent that school and its community?
Having the B on your shirt means a lot. Like, you're representing your school, you're representing your fans, families, everything. So it's just rocking Bonner Friars is like the best thing ever, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, you should be proud to have the BP on your shirt because all the alums that still come back to this day and how much they give back to the community, and just wearing that around, you should be proud.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the alumni does a lot for us. So, I mean, just to play for them, play for our fans and our coaches, I mean, that means a lot.
Ben, you got a great question here that you just asked.
So there's I guess, I don't know, maybe it was last week, video came out about you guys just throwing weight around. And you talked about it a little bit with your workouts with Salvi. In your guys' opinion, who's the strongest dude on the team?
He's sitting right there.
Yeah. Nah, I'd say we're all strong in a way, but like we're all steady with our weight, and also we're all strong guys.
Yeah, and I think that I like the lifting together, because for Strathaven, that wasn't really like a thing. We just kind of went to, like, at the time it was MSI, but, you know, Ascent, and kind of did our own thing and, like, practiced together. But I feel like the best bonds are kind of made when you're pushing each other, you know, in the weight room. That video, shout out JT Flicks, by the way. JT Flicks is the man. Yeah, he's been great with collabing on different stuff throughout the year. But all right, let's talk a little bit about colleges, because all three of you guys are committed to play D1 baseball. We'll start with you, Austin. You're heading to Ryder. Just talk to us about, like, how that happened, like what you liked about the school, and why you ended up there.
So I chose Ryder because, one, like, the coaching staff up there, Coach Barry Davis, he's been there for going on, I think, his 19th season there. And, like, you can't ask for anything else, anything better than that. Like, a coach with experience at that type of level. The campus was awesome. It was a nice campus overall. It wasn't like your big overall, big Power 5 school size campus, but it was like a perfect campus. I could definitely see myself there.
Jaxon, you're heading to Radford in Virginia. Same question to you. What'd you like about it?
The only reason I chose there is because Coach AG. I mean, he obviously came from JMU now, and it's his second year on the job, so he's just flipping the program around and just excited to get there.
Harry, Butler in Indiana is where you're headed. How'd that happen?
So, I mean, I first got a text message from him, from Coach Beamer. He's a new head coach. He's doing a pretty good job. I mean, a rough first year, but he's getting new guys in, a lot of good commits. And, yeah, I mean, it was just like the perfect fit for me.
Yeah, at the college level, it's hard to judge coaches so quickly because you got to get your guys in, you know. Do they want you to potentially hit and pitch, or are they going to kind of pick one or the other?
No, I'm just going to hit. Yeah.
All right, so we asked this question to Strathaven, but I want to ask the same question to you guys. When I say Bonner baseball, what does that mean to you? Like, what is that kind of, you know, when they, you know, with Strathaven guys, they were like, we want to just go play Strathaven baseball. Like, when you say I want to play, like, Bonner baseball, like, what is that style for you?
It's playing together, playing as a family, and just going out and being us. You know, don't worry about anybody else. Don't listen to anybody else. Just be Bonner.
Yeah. All right. So I guess, you know, real quick, just to look ahead of the 2024 season, what are some things that, you know, you kind of expect that need to go your way to have success?
We have to bring that energy this year. Last year wasn't as high it was sophomore year, which we kind of needed. We need to bring energy this year, and we just got to go play like we usually play and just have fun. Don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, energy is key. Like, you need energy to play baseball. If you don't have energy, you're a dead team. Like, you're not going to come out with a great outcome.
Yeah, because once you get that far, everyone has talent, and that's, you know, you need the energy to separate you. We also have Coach Steve Debarbarie in the building today, so we want to thank you guys for hopping on the show, and we'll let Coach Debarbarie come in here. All right, joining us now, we have Coach Steve Debarbarie. Steve, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Steve, this is what number season at the helm for you?
Well, 6, I guess you would say, but my 7th year total 2020 season obviously didn't happen.
So did you coach at the same time as your dad, or did you guys
So I graduated college in 2010. My dad took over Bonner in 2008. So right when I graduated, I jumped off staff for the 2011 season and was assistant coach under him for 6 years, and then took over as head coach.
What was that like, getting to work with him every day?
Oh, it was great. I mean, honestly, he's my best friend. We talk every day, and we're just like baseball junkies. So it was good. We had, like, he's old school. I'm a little new school, so we have some similarities, but we have a lot of differences.
Yeah,
so.
I got to meet him at some of the playoff games. It's cool to see him still sticking around, you know, and doing what he can to help the program.
He's director of baseball operations.
Did he create that title himself?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna guess.
So for the last 3 seasons, you guys have been kind of stuck at that state semifinal game. What do you think it's going to take to kind of get over that hump?
I don't know. You would like to say experience, but, you know, being there 3 years and still haven't gotten over the hump has been difficult. But I guess, like, especially these 3, they don't realize how difficult it is to even get to that game. They just kind of expect it right now. So it's going to be difficult to get back there again and to win that game, but that's our ultimate goal. I think, like Jaxon stated, we just got to play our best brand of baseball then. I mean, and it wasn't like the moment was too big for us or anything. It just, the chips fell where they did. And
yeah, it's obviously, it's not like you guys have been overmatched. Like all games last year, it was 4-3. I think it was close.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was.
Close.
Yeah,
it was close last year.
What's up?
Shallowgate?
Yeah.
No, it was 9-3. They hit
it was close for a little while.
They hit a 3-run homer in the last inning. But even that, I mean, we had 11 hits off of Miguel Hugas and 3 runs off of him, which is the most hits and runs he's led up all game. So I don't think we didn't hit the ball that well. I just thought other areas, especially pitching, we weren't at our best.
I was thinking of the Holy Ghost. That was the year before, right? The one at Villanova. That's the game I had in my mind of the
that was a heartbreaker.
Of the score. Yeah.
Even that Shaler game though felt a lot closer than I guess the scoreboard had said at the end. But that whole time it seemed like you guys were in that game.
Yeah. We felt that too. But yeah, they just had a couple guys on base, had a couple big blasts, a 3-run, I think maybe 2 3-run homers that game that really propelled them to the state championship.
Yeah. So when you take a look at this roster, just from what you've seen in the offseason workouts, based on guys coming back last year, it's got to be exciting to see, so much of that core still coming back.
Yeah. I mean, this is the deepest we've ever been with me being head coach by far. I mean, if we played a game tomorrow, I have 13 names where I can just easily write on a lineup and feel confident about them. And then our pitching staff, I really feel like we've never been this deep pitching in a long time. So, which will be good because, guys like Harry and Jaxon can go into the bullpen now and they won't be burnt out. We can use them at the end of the year and they won't be burnt out innings-wise. So, yeah, we have a lot of arms. I really feel confident throwing out there, too. So, we're excited. We're going to start live at-bats here in a couple weeks and really get the competitive juices flowing. So, we're excited for that.
Who are some of the arms?
We got Corey Sheridan, obviously transferred from Salesianum, going to NC State. Johnny Ortega's third year in varsity, looking to make good strides there. Rocco. We got Matt Shade. We have Nick Frangeli, left-handed pitcher. Ryan Friel was left-handed pitcher. Obviously, Harry Carr, Jaxon Kehoe, key innings for us the last 2 or 3 years. So,
is there anyone not playing college baseball on your roster this year? I feel like every time I was making a graphic over the fall, I'm like, geez,
we have 12 seniors and 10 are going on to play college baseball. Wow. So
that's impressive.
That's definitely right there. Same question I asked them just about, obviously losing Kevin this year. It's going to hurt on the field and leadership wise. What do you have to say about what he meant to Bonner?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the player he was for 4 years, but more of he's a culture changer. More of the leadership aspect and the community aspect. What he did for our school and for our program is unmatched. And these guys were fortunate enough to see it. And the biggest thing would have to be these 12 seniors, jumping in and taking on the role of the 5 seniors that we had gone. So.
And then what can you say about these 3 guys and what they mean to you in the program?
They're great. I mean, came in, threw them right into the fire. I mean, all 3 of them started every game since freshman year. So they're very experienced. They know what we're building, what we're trying to do. Everything about Bonner baseball, I mean, is through guys like them and the kids we brought into our school.
So there's only been one Delco team to win a PIAA state title. That was Marple in 2018. Yeah. So what would it mean for you to be able to bring one back for that Bonner community?
Oh, it'd be incredible. I mean, words couldn't even describe it. Even in, our PCL title 2 years ago, I mean, it was, besides getting married and my 2 sons being born, the happiest day of my life.
Good, you're not sleeping on the couch tonight. That's good. That's good. Had to get that one out. Oh, my bad. Had to get that one out. We were talking about that with them, how we think, having a Central League playoff would be so cool, being able to actually play for that trophy. And I'm sure you would probably agree with that.
Yeah. Like I said, when I graduated Byron in 2006, even our playoff structure was a double loss elimination. Now, we didn't advance we weren't in the PIAA at the time, but, back then for however many years, for probably 50, 60 years, it was just you played for the PCL title. So that's why it's so important to us as a school and a PCL member. That's huge.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with the Interac. It's like they have their state playoffs where all the teams make it, but you're not really deciding, who wins the conference in that regard. Because you can win the Central League and then duck out in the first round, and the team that came in third goes on a deep state run. And it's like, well, who who really comes out thinking they had, the better season there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap this thing up here. 2024 season, what are you most excited about?
Going to sunny Florida
Oh.
in a few weeks. I mean,
It's going to be nice.
I mean, we went to Vegas last year. It was freezing. It was like 30 degrees every single game. So, getting outside and in the sunlight, I mean, that's going to be very exciting. And just playing ball with these guys, I mean, I go to war with them. I love it.
DBN staff trip down to sunny Florida.
Get out of the cold winter.
Honestly. All right, Coach, thank you for your time. Thank you, boys, for coming in as well. And best of luck this year. I'm sure we'll be having some of you guys back on.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to the boys from Bonner Baseball for taking the time to come on the program, the second high school team that we have had on. I think these guys are in for a big year.
Yeah, I think so too. They talked a little bit about like depth and how deep they were. I think that's really gonna help them out this year, especially on the pitching side.
I mean, I have never seen, I'll say a PIAA because Malvern pumps out dudes every year. I've never seen like a PIAA team have the pitching depth that they've had. Like you have guys like Harry and Jaxon who were starting games last year that just don't have to start at all anymore. You have a D1 starter, you have a D2 pitcher, you have, a guy like Johnny Ortega who's upper 80s and, is going into his junior year. Like they have all of these dudes here, and when you're playing in those playoff games, like when the pitch count hits, our biggest issue with Strathaven is we had the two guys, and then after that it's just like, cross your fingers and just pray for the best at that point. But these guys, they have the experience, they have the talent, they clearly have the focus, which is a big thing.
Those guys are locked in,
and it's crazy losing a guy like Kevin McGonigal when you think the team potentially could even go further just because of the depth they have and the leadership. It's going to be exciting to watch.
I think the most telling thing about that was when they were saying that Harry Carr, who threw a complete game shutout in a state game, is now like able to move to the bullpen.
Yeah, he's like their fourth guy now, fifth guy now.
Dude, be like the best pitcher on most teams.
I mean, having 10 seniors committed to playing, I think my senior, I think we had 3. If you even count me as one of those. But
Penn State club counts.
Yeah, absolutely counts. But yeah, that was a great interview. We're going to keep these high school ones rolling on. If we don't have you on, please don't be offended. We only have so much studio time. We're going to try and get everyone in.
We only have so many weeks and so much time. There will be more during the year.
Oh, absolutely. Players of the week. We'll have stuff with the games of the week. Especially, I think one time. I think I want to try and do a live show at some point where, say, like, for example, Bonner's like the last team alive in Delco. Maybe like rent out a bar in Drexel Hill and just like tell all the kids, all their families, like the community come out, have some of the guys on stage and have that be, a thing that could get some more traction, like people following along and do stuff like that. But, you know.
Need a deep playoff run so we can do some cool stuff.
Yeah, guys, keep being good at baseball. It works for Media Little League.
Do your thing, we'll do ours.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so our second interview here, we have Kyle Virbitsky on. I've known him since I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. We played on a Media Little League tournament team together for a year when his dad was the coach. And, it's been cool to follow his development, to see how wide the gap in our talent has gone over there. It's like every year it's like, oh, man, like he's getting a little wider. But for a little bit of context here, Kyle went to Episcopal. He went to Penn State. He got drafted out of Penn State by the Oakland A's. He was traded last year along with former Philly Cole Irvin to Baltimore. So now he gets to be a little bit closer to the East Coast. But he's going to tell you all about that. So let's welcome on Kyle Virbitsky. All right, we are now joined by Episcopal and Penn State alum and current Baltimore Orioles prospect Kyle Virbitsky, also a Media Little League alum. I feel like that is necessary to add. It's Kyle, important. Thanks for coming on the show. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? Yeah,
good.
I'm really happy to be here.
It's great to have you in studio. Absolutely.
So how's the offseason been so far for you?
It's been good, man. A lot of hard work. It's funny. I come home and so far so good in terms of being fortunate that I haven't quite had any big news or really anything change. It's been a pretty steady off season. Last year I got through it pretty good. It was my first real off season after my first full season in pro ball. Felt like I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things to build on, and then when you have it, like right before spring training, kind of got traded. And so this year, obviously we're not through the finish line quite yet, but it's been really good. I feel like I had a really good focus, a good idea of what I needed to improve on, and kind of gotten after it every day. So I'm really excited going into this year.
I know your heart skipped when that Corbin Burns trade came out. For anybody watching the show that didn't know this, I was going to have Kyle on last year. The day of the interview, you ended up getting traded. And I remember I was just scrolling on Twitter in bed, and I saw the original, like, Cole Irvin of the Orioles tweet. I'm like, oh, I remember him. He was a Philly. Then I scrolled down to, like, the second one, and I'm like, no way. Is that how you found out, or did you get a call? Because I always wondered how that stuff works.
Yeah, so it's interesting. They really, I mean, at least in my experience, do a pretty good job of giving the player a heads up before that stuff hits public news. But obviously, there's a lot of guys trying to do a pretty good job, like your Jeff Passons and et cetera, trying to get that message out there before anybody else. It's kind of like a big race. And so I was fortunate. I got a phone call from my farm director with the A's. His name was Ed Sprague. And then right after that, I spoke to my pitching coordinator with the A's. His name was Gil Patterson. And then my third phone call was with Mike Elias, and it was, like, welcome to Baltimore. But I have nothing but really, really good things to say about my time with the A's. And honestly, it meant a lot to me. Just thinking back to that phone call, like, Ed Sprague is thanking me for, my professionalism, for coming to work every day, and really just the type of guy I was when I was with Oakland. And that message was echoed with my pitching coordinator. And then obviously talking to Mike Elias, he's like, yeah, we need starting pitching. We love what you do, and we're super excited to see you down in Sarasota. So it was amazing to kind of get traded, I suppose, that early in my career. And, a lot of times you look at these prospect rankings, you look at different things, and typically those are your guys being thrown into trades. And, obviously I'm not necessarily anybody's top prospect, but I'm certainly a hard worker. I, go about my work the right way. And I think that, it might have spoken some volumes to the body of work I put together with my time in Oakland. And so I'm very fortunate, just because as shocking as it was, and as much as I really did enjoy my time with Oakland, coming over to Baltimore has been a little blessing in disguise. I went from playing in the Cal League, I played a little bit in Lansing, Michigan in high A, and then, I was in Aberdeen, Maryland this year, which is about an hour away from home. And believe it or not, I have a girlfriend from Penn State. We met freshman year, and she grew up in Frederick, Maryland. And so geographically, Aberdeen was 1 hour from my girlfriend's family and 1 hour from my family. So I could drive either way and be right next to all the people I love. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, I think, to get back over here on the East Coast. And with Baltimore, it's been a really, really good, I think, test. There's a lot of really good players in my org. There's a lot of really good coaches and people. And I think that ultimately I'm going to be better served having gone through this kind of development. And yeah, I feel like I'm getting a lot better. So it's been great.
Yeah, it's good because, like, you always wonder when guys get traded, like, do they take it as, like, personally, like, oh, this organization didn't want me, or like this one did want me? And it seems like you're embracing the right mindset of, the Orioles saw something they liked, and that's, like, kind of the approach you have to have.
Yeah, and I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head. One of the messages that actually the farm director from the A's echoed to me was that, certainly when this kind of stuff happens, you're going somewhere where you're wanted. And it's not to say that the A's didn't want me. In fact, I would say that, they might have been, on a player development side, a little bit, disappointed to lose me. I really had great relationships with all my pitching coaches over there, the coordinators over there, really all the staff, the strength staff, the athletic training staff, and my teammates. That was something that I didn't expect to get a taste of that early in my career, but to get some of those texts and some of those phone calls, and even still to this day, one of my best friends, he was my roommate with the A's as a kid, Jack Owen. He was an Auburn, a Friday night guy at Auburn, free agent signed with the A's, and we roomed together for really the first 2 years, and only 2 years I was over there. I was a groomsman in his wedding this past year. And so, like, you make those relationships, and I think that that's part of, some of the hard parts about moving on and getting traded. This business is tough in that sense. But it's amazing because, I really try to be a good teammate. I try to be a really good guy, a good clubhouse guy, and go about my work in a way that's both professional, but also, maybe leave some clues to this is how things should be done. And I think I've been able to transition really well with that mindset over into Baltimore, and I've made a whole bunch of new friends, and it's been a really, really good, smooth transition, and I definitely appreciate being closer to home. So it's been good.
Absolutely. So how's the off season been for you so far? Are you still training with George, or?
Yeah, I'm over at EL1 now. Still working out with George, and then I go over to IV rehab and do Rob Rubina. You know Rubina well,
of course.
But that's something that it's actually really, really important to me, and I'm glad you brought it up because that group that we have, I really think it's as good as it gets. Probably 6 or 7 of my closest friends right now at home are all playing baseball. Probably the biggest name that you might know is Justin Topa, who, believe it or not, he was in my shoes about 2 days ago from where I was last year. He just got traded from the Mariners over to the Minnesota Twins. And he's a big league guy. He was second in Major League Baseball in appearances last year. Really, really good body of work. But more so, like the type of person he is, I'm very fortunate to train around guys like that, just to, put yourself in an environment that is arguably better than the current level I am. And I think that, that's kind of a staple to my whole career. I've always tried to put myself in an environment of people, train with people that are, at least as good, if not better than I am. And I think that's been a really good recipe for success. So to continue to build on that, even at this stage in the game where, I hate to say it, but it's kind of hard to find, like all my best friends growing up and everything, there's not a whole lot of them still doing it. And that's no knock on their career. A lot of them have had unbelievable careers. They've turned into unbelievable people outside of baseball, professional careers. But to find a group of guys that have been able to stay close enough and train together and really look forward to seeing one another and push each other in the mornings, like it's helped me, I think, grow as a person and as a player in this off season. And, going into a season, it's great to learn from people that are kind of doing the same thing. And, in Topa's case, doing it levels higher than I've played. So he's certainly a role model for me and somebody I look up to. And I think there's a lot of guys that in our training group that look up to him, but we all pick each other's brains. We learn from each other. And I really love the guys I train with.
All right, Ben, as the PO of the podcast, I think you should ask this question here.
Which one we got? Oh, there we go. All right, my bad. So during off season, as a pitcher, do you have a specific goal in mind? Maybe like what is that goal this year?
Yeah, so it's funny, like for me, kind of, and I mean this is going to sound pretty obvious, but velocity is a huge element to the game right now. You turn on the TV and everybody's throwing very hard, and I think that's something that, I've always been kind of at the threshold of whatever level I've been at. I've never been that guy who's light years ahead of anybody velo-wise, but I'm certainly no slouch. I want to say my average fastball last year was somewhere right around 92. I'd love to kind of take that to be more like 93, 96, somewhere in that window. I think as a starter that would play pretty well, especially with the types of pitches I throw. And obviously I'd love to throw 100. I'd love to throw 105. Like, I think that a realistic step in the right direction for me is continuing to try to raise that floor. And ideally, I'd love to be, at a minimum like 93, 94 this year, hopefully touching some 5s and 6s and carry the rest of my arsenal with that. Ideally, the slider would be a little bit harder, curveball a little bit harder, etc. But goal-wise, like that's certainly an element to it. But one of the cool things about being with Baltimore is we have access to a lot of technology. And we do what's called like a biomechanics motion capture. And there's a lab, it's kind of attached to a hospital in Bel Air, Maryland, so really close to Baltimore, actually really close to where I lived this current past season when I was with Aberdeen. And so usually about once during the year, maybe twice, certainly once during spring training, and then obviously being on the East Coast, I'm close enough that about 3 weeks ago I did another one. We'll go to that lab, throw a bullpen, and you get back a ton of information. There's 6, 7 cameras all around you. There's force plates in the mound. You're pitching to a TrackMan. And so basically it's able to break down every element to your delivery and then kind of pinpoint certain areas where maybe you're not maximizing certain movements. And so for me, really trying to capture a little bit more, I'd call it like scap load, but that's basically just staying closed a little bit longer. And one of the other things I've been working on is trying to get my lead leg block to be a little bit stronger. So ultimately, if I could create a little bit more tension, hold it a little bit longer, and then stop that force out in front of me when I land and kind of pitch through it, that hopefully would lead to a maybe more efficient throw, but also a harder throw. So, you kind of get to a certain point in this game, every adjustment, everything you're doing, it's tiny things. I mean, it's like marginal differences, and that last 1%, that next 1% after you get to there, those are sometimes the hardest little hills to climb. But at the end of the day, there's been a huge body of work over the course of time that's kind of gotten me to where I am. So it's also really important not to lose all of that. There's a reason that I'm able to get outs. There's a reason I'm able to kind of pitch at the level I pitch at. And the further away I get from who I am to maybe chase something that who knows if I'll ever be, I think that you kind of have to weigh that risk reward a little bit. But at the end of the day, the end goal is pitching in the big leagues. And so you certainly, in my shoes, are going to take some risks and try and do whatever I can because, that's the top level of this game. Those hitters are pretty good. The pitchers that throw out there are pretty good. And, you saw the news with that trade, but also just looking around my org, there's certainly some pretty good players that I would need to pass to get my shot up there. So for me, it's really just a commitment to trying to do that work every day to get just a little bit better and kind of staying in my lane, controlling what I can control, and seeing where the cards fall.
Yeah, it's like once you get to the level you're at, like everybody has talent, and it's just like those little things, in the grand scheme of things, really end up being the big things. Now, do the Orioles kind of like tell you things they want you to work on, or is it kind of for you like, I want to do this and work with George to like make that happen? Yeah, so I think the one of the things that's been super clear ever since I've been with Baltimore has been the communication on a lot of those goals. So yes, some of those things I just mentioned are certainly goals that I've gotten from the Orioles. And on top of that, kind of one of the main things that stuck out was as soon as I got in, we took my slider, which when I was with the A's was a bit more of a gyro slider, kind of like a hard cutter, I guess, if you will. It stayed more true to the plate. It didn't have that big sweep. The sweepers are taking over. So sweepers are taking over, but certainly for me, I've always been a guy who kind of pitches up with the fastball, and I have that big breaking ball, curveball to go with it. The slider before I got over to Baltimore was kind of that tight one in the middle, and we sought to add a little bit more of that horizontal break, kind of going away from righties, to have my own version of, I guess, a mini sweeper. For me, for my arm slot, I think it's real hard to get really far out into that sweeper world. Like a lot of sinker ball guys throw those huge sweepers, and that's a little bit because of the way they throw the ball, their arm slot. For me, just working on some repetition and a couple of different tools that the Orioles had. We had these balls that actually just drawn on circles on them, and if you spun it the right way, you'd see a circle. It was kind of instant feedback, and that stuff really, really helped me to pick up more break on that sweeper. And sure enough, like there's an argument to be made that it was my best pitch last year. So I think that, constantly being developed and being in an org right now that's certainly new school, certainly very analytical with the way that we develop, but that communicates as well as Baltimore does. It's been really nice to have some of those goals in front of me. But at the end of the day, somebody told me a while ago, it's your career. And so all the work that you do once you're at this level, it kind of does fall on you. Nobody's going to hold your hand. They're going to tell you, you're supposed to lift today, but you don't lift, you don't lift. It's similar to your throwing and whatnot. At the end of the day, you got to be ready when you go out there. And I think that that's really what I try and take the most ownership and control over. It's like my preparation. There's certainly more talented guys than me. There's certainly guys that, maybe God-given, like just can do it a little bit better than I can. But I try to go into every day like you'll be hard-pressed to find somebody that's going to outwork me. And that's kind of been how I've really been since arguably high school, college. So just day by day.
So you talk a little bit about your preparation, and you talked a lot about off season so far. What about like a game day type thing? Yeah, so it's funny. I tell this story a little bit, but I played 3 sports in high school. I played football, basketball, and baseball, and I also played, shortstop. I hit. And you go from doing all of those things to literally just pitching, and it's a little bit hard, especially in the beginning, right? You're 18, 19 years old. I'm a freshman at Penn State. I was doing all these things at Episcopal, and wham, like you're just going to pitch. And I think what I found helped me the most was kind of looking at those days that I pitch, and especially more so my junior, senior year when I started being a starting pitcher full time. It almost feels more like a football game to me, because for everybody else, right, like in a minor league season, you play in these, it's a 6-game series. So Tuesday to Sunday, you're playing every game's at 7 o'clock at night, except for Sunday's a day game. But usually, unless it's like you're on a 5-day, and sometimes I'll pitch Tuesday and Sunday, for the most part, you're pitching 1 day a week. And I know what day that is, right? So let's just hypothetically say I'm throwing on Friday. This will make it easy. Well, the whole week, I get to watch that team that we're playing. I get to prepare. There's video, there's all sorts of different analytical tools that I can go on and scout these hitters and whatnot, but I really get to prepare. That's almost like a football game. You got that Friday night game, and your whole week of practice is figuring out, okay, like this is what they do on offense. We're going to go out and practice how to defend that. This is what they do on defense. This is how we're going to attack it on offense. We're going to go practice that. You get to Thursday, you kind of do your walkthrough. And then Friday, man, it's like showtime, right? The lights are on, that anthem goes off. You have that huge adrenaline spike, and you're ready to go run through a damn wall. That's like what I try and feel when I pitch. And so my whole week is preparing for whatever task is in front of me.
I try to get to know their lineup a little bit, especially if I have a few games to watch it. If I'm pitching earlier in the week, I'll definitely do a little bit more film review and figure out kind of what they're doing because I won't get a chance to see them as much. But that bullpen during the week, it really consists of two things. One is like anything I took from my last outing that I know I need to improve on. I want to work on a little bit in that bullpen. But two, it's what's next. Like I know that there's going to be 6 lefties in this lineup, so I better dial in that change up a little bit, right? Or maybe you're facing a team that's got 9 righties and you're not going to see a lefty, so it's like, yeah, we're going to spin this thing. And so you're kind of working on that. But by the time you get to Friday, it's like all that work is done. Everything that I need to know, I need to do, it's either been done or it hasn't been done. And I mean, for me, that's kind of the biggest box I feel like I need to check. I'm prepared. And then once I can go out there confidently prepared, and you kind of just get into that mindset of like, this is war. Like, this is my football game. This is that Friday night lights. It's showtime. I'm ready to go out and do my job. And that's, I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of what starting pitching is, right? The other guys, they got to play every single day. Your center fielder, he's going to get 600 some at bats in a season. He might get 2 off days a month, maybe 3. So that day that I pitch, it's so important for me to be 100% and give the team like every last bit of what I have, because at the end of the day, like there might not be another guy on that field who's able to give 100%, not on purpose, but just because you get to, the end of the season, like you're talking August, September, these guys with 600-700 at bats under their belt, and it's hard. I mean, it's certainly hard. So for me to be able to be at that level, and they work on it too, like they're trying to be as consistent and as high caliber. That's what's so impressive about the way the game is played at this level. It's the talent's incredible. But to be able to do it every single day without stop, I mean, 132 games in A-ball, 142 in AA, 52 in AAA, and it's 162 in the big leagues. That's no small task, right? So to have your body be able to withstand that load, to be prepared enough to stay locked in and not take weeks off, to not take games off or bullpens off, and to go out and give your team a chance to win anytime they're willing to give you the ball, that's kind of my job. And so that's probably what I work on the most, is just being prepared, and I take that kind of football mentality to it because, I mean, they try to be a dog. That's it.
Yeah. Were you feeling like at the end of your first pro season, like shit, like I really need, to like going into next year, like this is what it's going to be like every year? Because in college you probably have, I would imagine, how many starts, like 15, 20?
I think my senior year I had 13.
Yeah. Okay. And then pro ball,
it's double.
I was going to say
26. Yeah.
So, having to understand that, you need to get that endurance up, like you need to have your arm, like,
Well, and I think it's funny because my whole path into pro ball, it was unknown to me, but almost taking little mini baby steps towards being ready for that. So my first year in college, I played in a summer league, the Northwoods League. I played on the Kalamazoo Growlers. It's one of the most fun summers I ever had, but mostly because of the work I got to learn that it was the closest thing to what I'm doing right now in terms of minor league baseball. You play every day. You're on crappy stadiums. You're riding a bus through the middle of the night. Like, I was going from Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is kind of a little bit north into the state of Michigan. To get to some of the teams we played, there's a giant lake that you got to go down, around, and then back up. So, like, for instance, we'd play Green Bay, the Green Bay Booyah, or whatever the team name was. That's like a 9.5-hour bus ride. You get done a game at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. You're lucky to get on the bus by midnight, and then you're busing to Green Bay, and you're playing a game the next night. Like, there's no break. You sleep on the bus. I think that league has gotten a little bit better since I was there in 18 in terms of the travel. They might have went from having 2 divisions to 4 now. But anyway, like, that was my taste of playing. I played 75 games in 80 days. It was crazy. And that was after a full season of Penn State baseball. Yeah.
Especially as a pitcher, like, you're
In
already
fact,
running low.
I think back in that summer, so that was 2018, I pitched like 21 innings maybe for Penn State out of the bullpen. I'm a freshman. I thought I was better than I was. I got a really cool opportunity to go to the Northwoods League, and I wound up throwing, I think it was right around 75, and I might have led the Northwoods League in innings pitched that year. Wow. You could maybe look up at it and see, but I'm almost positive, which the Northwoods League plays more games than anybody else, so certainly I probably led collegiate summer baseball that season in innings pitched. So I had about 100 innings my freshman year of college. my sophomore year, I was like our second most used guy out of the bullpen. I might have had 2 or 3 spot starts, but I think I threw about 41 innings. And at that point, I had a temp contract to go and play in Wareham in the Cape. And speaking to my head coach at the time, I'll never forget it. We were at Ohio State, and it's the very end of the year, and Coop comes up to me. He's like, listen, I really think it's in your best interest if you stay on campus rather than going to the Cape. Throwing like 87, 88 at this point. Like, I wasn't going to go show anybody anything in the Cape. I was on a temp contract. I was probably going to go there, get 1 or 2 outings, and then come home and whatever. So scrapped that. Stayed at Penn State. I took 2 classes, which actually helped a lot of things. I got ahead a little bit in school. It set up a much easier end of my college career in terms of, like, I think I was in 1 class my senior spring playing baseball, and this was
nice.
with COVID. So, I mean, it was online. It wasn't even school. And I was pretty much able to train and really start to figure some things out. So I come back my junior year, slated to start. I'm the Saturday guy. We start that season. We're having a pretty good year as a team. We're like 12-3. Life's going pretty good. We had played Duke. I think we took a game from them, and then we took 2 out of 3 from UCF. And all of a sudden, like, the COVID thing happened, and we're canceled, and everything's all done. And that was crazy because at that point, I'm like, I'm starting. Like, everything's going well. This is my draft year. I did all this work to set myself up to be able to finish school. You know, I had big dreams. And COVID happens, you go home, you're done, and then sure enough, you come back senior year, still a lot of unknowns. Like, we didn't know if we were going to have a season, we didn't know what it was going to be, and we wind up playing a Big Ten only year. And that fall, I would say, is what changed my whole career in baseball. I had COVID. This was in 2020, I guess 2021, like right in the beginning of the year. There was like 30 of us on the baseball team who got it, and we got screamed at, like, you know, you guys got sick, you can't do this, you can't do that. And basically, like, we weren't going to be allowed to practice or do anything with the team until we got through these physicals and got cleared. And the process for that was a bit crazy. We had to get like a cardiac echo, I think a cardiac MRI, an EKG, cleared by a doctor. Wow. And basically they told me and, you know, about 20 of us that we couldn't get those appointments until like late October. And it's August. It's like the end of August, right? So you're telling me in my senior year now, baseball, technically junior eligibility-wise, that I wasn't going to be able to train or practice for like almost 3 months. I'm like, no chance, right? So again, everything's online, so class is online. That's when I went home. I left Penn State and met George, started training with Rob, and wouldn't you have it, like, I'll never forget, I came back to school right in the spring, so didn't do an ounce of the fall with the Penn State team. Came back in the spring, we're inside, look, we're finally getting back together as a team. These are kind of our first team practices going into this season, and my first bullpen, I'm like 93, 94, and my stuff looks pretty good, and everybody's like pretty excited, and sure enough, you know, I'm a starter again, and I wind up having my best year at Penn State. I think I was our, you know, best pitcher on the team. I certainly filled it up. I had a lot of strikeouts, and I think I earned that draft opportunity with the Oakland A's. And looking back on it, like my junior year that I was like convinced this is my big draft year and stuff, I don't even think I would have gotten drafted if it wasn't for that COVID summer. I think that's when I took some of my biggest steps as a player. And not only the biggest steps as a player, but that's what got me in with Rob and George, which I would say is a huge testament to what's kind of shaped my career, at least the last 4 years. Being in that environment with those guys. And at this point over at MSI, I was training with guys like Jordan Hicks and Ryan Halsey and, you know, like Bruce Zimmerman's over there and Topa. And we had an unbelievable crowd of really advanced, like high-level baseball players. And here I am getting to see them every day and whatnot when I should be at school. Yeah. And then it kind of just continued. But so, yeah, recently, like, we've made a little bit of a move from Ascent over to EL1 and to Ivy. But when you get to this point in your career, like, you kind of go where your people go. And Rob and George weren't there anymore. And those are my guys. Like, I'll go to, I mean, they've gotten me this far. So it's certainly, why would I change that?
It's such a crazy blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm personally not very religious, but it's like that you don't know what God's plan is. But like, there's something, you know, dude, like you thought when COVID hit and you're going home, like, I might never play pro baseball. And the next thing you know, you realize it might have been the best thing possible for your career, really.
Well, no doubt. And, like, you have that. So, like, yeah, I mean, God's plan with that was unbelievable. And then I'd argue the trade, too. Like, kind of at a point when dealing with a little bit of stuff at home. My dad he actually has cancer, and it's been really hard for us to kind of get through all of those things, and especially me being out on the West Coast. Like, he got diagnosed that first full off season I had back in 22, and I was dreading like going back out west just because of how far away it is. It's so hard, and he was fine. I mean, he's been fine. Knock on wood, everything's pretty good with him, and he's inspiring to watch. Go through this whole process too. It truly does. It's amazing. It's added so much more, I think, passion to like what I do, because I've really gotten to see like life's short, man. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen next. You don't know when your last day is. You have no clue what you're up against. And for me to be able to be at home and be an hour away from my dad, I mean, the worst case right now, and again, baseball can change in the snap of a finger. I can get a phone call in an hour and be in a different state. But at least for right now, the furthest I could get from home would be AAA, and that's Norfolk, Virginia. It's about 3.5, 4 hours. So life's pretty good right now. I'm really just blessed, and I think fortunate that maybe God did have a plan. And while I loved Oakland, while I loved the people over there, I thought I had a pretty good path to the show over there. I think that God had a plan to bring me home, and so and it's for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's been really important to me.
So last season, team MVP of the High A Aberdeen Ironbirds. What did just getting that recognition mean to you? Because obviously you put in a lot of hard work, and it's got to feel good to see it pay off like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that, I've never been one for like personal accolades, I would say. Obviously, they're very well earned, and I think it speaks a lot to the type of teammate I am and the type of work that I do on a daily basis. But I was very fortunate to play with a lot of really, really good players. I mean, Jackson Holliday was my shortstop for probably about 2.5 months. I had Judd Fabian and Dylan Beavers and some of these like top-end outfield prospects. My catcher, Silas Ardoin, and Creed Willems, like two really. Silas was at Texas, just unbelievable catcher. So there's so many different pieces that go into an award like that. And I think that ultimately at the end of the year, like, it really was a culmination of so many people helping me, so many good players behind me, and obviously a lot of the work that I did on the mound. And I'm very fortunate that, the people that decide on those things, I'm very happy to have obviously received it. But it's kind of like a team award. Like, everybody played pretty well when I pitched, and I pitch pretty well when they play well. So it's a great feeling to know that, I think the guys trust me when I'm on the mound, and I certainly trust them to have my back, and I'm happy that I was, recognized for it.
Yeah, and Ben, as the pitcher too, I mean, how, like, having an infield defense you trust, it's got to change the way you pitch, just having the people behind you.
Knowing that, I mean, having Jackson Holiday behind
that's probably a little different than
probably pretty nice. Like, I can imagine that. If I had him back there, I'd feel pretty good about like going out and pitching. So that's probably really nice to like have a good team like that.
He's a one-of-one talent. I mean, I feel like I've played with a ton of really, really good players. In fact, I had a pretty good shortstop over with the A's too, and Max Muncy, the younger Max.
The other Max Muncy.
Yeah.
That's what I
he was an outstanding teammate and everything too. And then obviously coming over and having another like first rounder the year later, first pick of the draft, and Jackson, like, it's a cool opportunity. I don't like to fanboy or anything like that.
It's crazy.
I'm 25 and he's 19, and I think he just married his high school sweetheart too.
I saw that.
It's amazing just how polished that kid is for his age. And granted, I mean, his dad Matt was an unbelievable player to Cardinals. His younger brother Ethan, who's in my younger brother Jake's class, looks like another potential 1-1 pick, and so to get to have a kid like that behind you who. He's not, I mean, like, he talks to you. He's a great teammate. He's a great clubhouse guy. Outside of baseball, you wouldn't know that this kid is, as wealthy as he is, as big and popular as he is. He's just a kid playing the game, and he's an unbelievable human being with an unbelievable work ethic, and I'm very, very lucky to have played with him. I think I learned from him. I hope he learned a thing or two from me, and obviously I hope we get to play together for quite some time. So,
well, it has to be an exciting time to be an Oriole, especially, new ownership, the Corbin Burns trade. How does it feel to be, like you're a young guy getting older with an organization that's on the rise? Like, you guys are kind of in the same trajectory, and especially an organization that is rich in position player prospects, a little more than pitching. Like, it has to feel from a baseball standpoint just like the perfect marriage.
Yeah, no, I love being with Baltimore. I think that it actually blends a lot of what I really believe in, kind of like training-wise and preparation-wise. Like, I think we're aligned in terms of mentality and strategy, and so it's been a really good, I think, test and challenge to continue to improve, to develop, and to obviously chase my dreams of playing in the big leagues in this organization. It's certainly very cool to see almost any time you open Twitter, like somebody's talking about we're the #1 farm system, to be a part of that. It's certainly special. I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I got some really, really good friends. They are talented at baseball. And so I think similar to that environment piece I brought up earlier about my off-season training group, I kind of never lose that. I go into the season, and I mean, on paper, like, we are as good as it gets as an org-wide. So you go down to spring training, and there's 165 of us that are pretty damn good at baseball and all pushing each other to be better. And so I think that hopefully, I mean, my whole idea behind it would be that it breeds excellence out of me in order to get through this, to compete, to get to AA, to get to AAA, to get to the big leagues. Like, you're going to have to go through it. And to go through it in this system, if I can come out the other side of that, I'd take that deck of cards any day of the week. So
yeah, iron sharpens iron. Yeah. All right. One question I added on here: who's the best hitter you've ever faced? It could be in college, it could be in spring training, it could be in single A. Like, have you faced someone that's played in the big leagues at all?
Yes, I faced I think his name's Jeter Downs. There's a lot of guys like rehab starts, so you see people all the time that, and it's so funny because it's amazing. You know, the big name big leaguers, like your Bryce Harpers, your people that are certainly all over everything. But there's a lot of guys that have gotten up there and played a little bit that are back down in AAA and back up in the big. So it's one thing to get up there, but to then stay up there is a whole nother conversation. And so you see it in the minor leagues all the time, whether it's rehab pitchers or hitters that are coming through. And it's funny, like, I don't have a name, I guess, that sticks out to me as like, oh, this was the best. I've certainly faced some unbelievable hitters. I think some of the tougher at-bats for me, at least this last year, there's a kid on the Yankees, Spencer Jones. He's a top prospect with them. He's a real big lefty, kind of covers a lot of the plate. I think he's really good on balls down. I think he's really good at seeing pitches. We've certainly had our fair share of like grueling matchups. He's gotten me a few times. I've certainly punched him out a few times. So I think that, yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't have one like guy that sticks out. I guess maybe Spencer would be a pretty good. He's kind of got like a mini Aaron Judge comp, like that's super tall. The Yankees seem to have all sorts of guys that are looking like Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge.
Just no good way to pitch to them.
It's just big. I mean, they take up a lot of the plate. You know, they're looking to do damage. They're getting their swings in and really cover a lot of the plate. So I'd say Spencer was probably one of the tougher at-bats of the year, one that I certainly had to prepare for. But like I said earlier, you know, I go through these lineups, and I really try not to overlook anybody. Like, there's a lot of respect, I think, that's given to these guys, at least in my position. Like, everybody's here for a reason. Everybody's getting paid to play baseball at this point. So certainly you're supposed to probably lose a couple of these battles every now and then. But, you know, I try to prepare like my job and my career in this game depends on it. And so I think what's been a real staple to everything I'm doing pitching-wise, no matter who I'm facing, is to just have some kind of plan, like know a little bit about them, right? Like, and things can change. Like guys that maybe in the beginning of the year struggled to hit off-speed pitches, well, they're working on that too. You got to figure all year if he can't hit a slider in the beginning of the season, guarantee you he's got machine sliders getting fed to him every day until he figures out how to get the bat to it. So I think as the season evolves, what's interesting about minor league baseball, or pro ball in general, is you're typically facing the same guys over and over again too. And when you move, I mean, other people that are your age are kind of moving too, and ultimately, like that Spencer Jones kid, he probably has 25, 30 at-bats off of me last year. And so it's a lot more than just getting a guy once. It's kind of figuring out how to continue to attack and to get these guys. And you see that in the big leagues, right? Like, Bryce Harper's probably hit against God knows how many pitchers, but think of how many multiple at-bats he's had against, you know, the same guy in the big leagues. How do you get him out 10 times, 20 times, 30 times? So you start to really see that in the minor leagues too, because we play so much. So constantly challenged by these lineups, but I think my preparation is really what sets me up to not really fear anybody. I think there's a way to get anybody out. Just looking into the details and figuring out how best to sequence what I'm good at and attack those guys with my best stuff.
So on a similar kind of thing, you're a pitcher. You probably spend a lot of time with the other pitchers. Is there anyone who's like either overall arsenal or just a certain pitch is kind of like make just go like whoa, like there's.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd say when I was in college, I watched a ton of Tyler Glasnow. I think that he was certainly a role model for me. I don't know him personally by any stretch, but just that big, like, he really reaches back, and I think he puts a lot of, tension behind the ball. It certainly comes out pretty good. And I think we don't throw exactly the same, but arsenal-wise, a lot of similarities, and I like what he does a lot. In my own org, I think on the minor league side, there's a kid, Justin Armbruster, who got up to AAA with us. In fact, he's probably knocking on the door of the show at this point, but he's my age. And him and he was one of the first guys I met during spring training, and really just like the way he throws. It's got a little bit of funk to it, but it certainly comes out well, and we throw a pretty similar arsenal of pitches too, so I feel like I've liked to watch him a lot. And yeah, like my whole team actually in Aberdeen was kind of filled with some pretty good arms. There was this kid Keegan who came out of the bullpen for us, and about 6'7", righty and big fastball, heavy splitter, and I think it took him 21 innings, and I mean that was about 2.5 months into the season before he gave up his first hit. And so, like, yeah, you see some stuff like that, and yeah, we had a lot of guys that were fun to watch. In fact, some local guys too, like Dan Hammer, a Holy Ghost kid, I'm pretty sure, but he was my teammate in Aberdeen. We trained together at Ascent, known him for years, and he'll run it up to like 97, 98. So I really, I'm like a student of the game in a sense that I love watching good pitchers pitch, and I love watching guys with some nasty shit do their job. It's really cool to watch. So I'm very fortunate that I think everybody in this org brings a little something to the table. There's certainly nobody that I wouldn't take any information from. I think I'm always learning, and really love watching my teammates do their thing too. It teaches me. I think I get a lot out of watching it, so it's fun.
Have you gotten to see fellow Media Little League alum Nate Furman out there yet? Have you guys played them?
I haven't played Nate yet in pro ball. It's funny. I think he's with the Guardians.
Yeah,
right? So
I think they're Columbus. I think that might be AAA.
I want to say they're AA in Akron, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
he's Rubber Ducks. Yeah,
he definitely started low A and made up to high this year.
Yes.
I just forget where each of them
so
was.
I want to say that his high A team is actually in the Midwest League. It might be like Lake County or something, which when I was with the A's, we would have played them. I didn't overlap with him when I was with the A's. And now that I'm over on this side, I think I wouldn't play him until hopefully we're both in AA at some point. We'd play in Akron or something like that. So I haven't played him yet, but I see him all the time. When he's home, he's spent a lot of time in Arizona this year, I think. But when he's home, he comes in and sees Rob and works out and everything. So typically in the off season, I'll see him. I saw him at Mass actually on Christmas Eve. So we get it. Yeah, I love the Furmans.
All right. Well, of course, being a Delco baseball podcast, we got to talk some Delco. So when I say Delco baseball, what does that mean to you? Like, do you carry that? Do you bring the Delco with you? I guess is the best way to put it.
I think so. I mean, I've certainly gotten a couple of comments about the way I talk a little bit, and I don't know. It's just but I just listened to the whole Bonner podcast you guys did in here, and that's Delco baseball.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
We have the accents, but they have the accents. They're Ridley guys.
No, Ridley guys are a little bit different too. But I put Delco in my my little Instagram bio, I think, and it might even be on Twitter now too. But I certainly love being that outside of Philadelphia guy, and I think that Delco's got a little bit of grit to us. It's funny being the Northeast kid. Like, you're playing with a ton of guys, usually from California, from Florida, from Texas, like these warmer states. And it definitely takes a little bit more to, I think, get it done up in this part of the country. And blessed with really good resources, people like Robin George, indoor facilities like Ascent and EL1, it's not easy to be outside when it's 20 degrees and stuff. So to have places to go to get the work in and train, I think that that's a little bit of that Delco grit that I'm talking about. But I think it's also like a little bit of a toughness element too. Nothing was really handed to me or ever easy growing up. I mean, in this area, it was certainly not rare to have coaches that were really hard on you. Like, I remember some of the most competitive games I played, I think, were at like 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th grade CYO basketball. And, to see these dads and these coaches like grilling each other. And if it wasn't good enough, like our coaches were coming down our throats. And I don't know if you remember, like a Louis Lombardo?
Yeah,
Lombardo.
Went to Penn State with him too.
Yeah, and so like Big Lou was one of my first ever coaches. This is back in like Rose Tree Colts, and I mean, don't piss that guy off. Like you're gonna get met with the ironclad. So it's a definitely fortunate to be brought up in a super competitive environment. I think a super tough environment, and I really do think that I take a lot of the stuff I've had from Delaware County and just that whole idea of toughness and grit and whatnot. I bring it to work every day with me.
What was it like seeing the Media Little League guys go on the run this year? Because I saw you at the state championship.
Yeah. So it worked out well. I think it was on a Monday. And so obviously being so close to home, like you talk about, I would have never been able to do that if I was with the A's.
You're not going to fly home for that.
No. Yeah. And so like that was a huge to-do. And I mean, obviously I really was fond of my memories at Media Little League. My 9 and 10-year-old team, this was back in, I think like 2008 maybe, like 7 or 6. I don't know. My 9 and 10-year-old team won the state. And then when I was 12, I think we got out of the district. We maybe made it through sectionals. And there's been a lull. Like, I don't think the 12-year-old district team has gotten out of the district maybe since I was there.
I don't think it was. Were you with Alex Berman?
Yeah.
I don't think it was since that team.
No, like we didn't do anything. So to go all that time, it's so funny because my dad coached Little League like back then. He was my first coach. He coached a little football, coached a little basketball, but was always Little League baseball. We had this dynasty at Baker Printing.
Baker, they still win every year. Yeah,
and
every year.
Tony Antonello, man, that guy, he's one of my role models too. Like I mentor, he taught the fundamentals of baseball before, anybody needed to know the fundamentals of baseball. We were doing bunt defenses when I was like 9 and 10 years old, but sure as crap, like you get to high school and these kids don't know it. And so to have that kind of instruction, to have that kind of person in your life, I think at that age. And he paired really well with my dad because Tony was like super mechanical. He really did the ins and outs, the baseball IQ stuff. And my dad was like our strategist. Numbers guy. Like he would go into the draft basically with his own little made up rankings on certain players. And he's not just taking the best guy. He's like, oh, this guy can run a little bit. Like we can use him. Nobody's going to take him.
They're 8 years old. Yeah.
So
just from the little,
like Moneyball.
The little combine, they would do it like Media Elementary School.
Yes. It was at like Springton Lake. They'd split the gym in half. And so my dad's like scouting these kids and, I'm like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And sure enough, like I got through Baker Printing. I think we won I think it was 2. I think we won when I was 11 and 12. Then my brother Brian was on Baker Printing. They won almost every year. And I think my brother Jake was on Baker Printing, and they won most. In the last probably, like 12 to 15 years, Baker might have like 10 or 11.
That kid Crowley was on Baker this year. I'm like, I knew that. I could tell that already. I'm like, I didn't even need to ask. I'm like, you were obviously a Baker guy.
And so, it's built a little bit of a dynasty. And there's certainly probably some people over at Media Little League that are like still trying to figure that. I remember they made like pitch count rules when I was a kid. Like we'd have like in-house rules that were different than the districts because my dad, he'd run me. If I couldn't pitch the next day because I threw, 21 pitches, it was like a 1-2 count on the hitter, and I was getting taken out to go pitch the next. So he was on top of it, and I think that's always stuck with me too. I have, I don't know, I've got such a love and passion for this game. I really do feel like I'm still playing this child's game, but the way I think through it, it really started in Little League. Like I see these little angles that maybe other people don't see, and I try to obviously bring that to work and to pitch with it, but it's just I'm so lucky to have gone through a great upbringing like that and to really learn some of the most important aspects of playing the game of baseball from a young age. And to then like fall in love with that, I feel like that's where a lot of kids get bored, right? Like in high school, if maybe you're not playing every day or you're stuck out in left field, or in Little League, maybe you're in the outfield and you don't have a coach that's able to like deliver the strategic elements, the baseball IQ elements that really, when you think about it, kind of make the game fun. Like you're playing small ball, you're getting in rundowns and moving the ball around and stuff. If none of that things are happening or processing in your head, like the game could look a little bit boring, I suppose. And I've really never felt that though. Like I watch 132 games a year now, not including spring training, and I really am never bored. Like there's always something in a baseball game that happens that maybe you didn't see, or there's something exciting, and I find a lot of joy in the small things. Like somebody who goes out and shoves for 8 innings on TV, that might not look like too much fun, but like, damn, that's pretty impressive. Like he just got through that lineup 4 times. Like that's unbelievable. So it's the little things, yeah.
Well, we're fired up because we're actually sponsoring a media little league team this year. We'll have a national league team this year, which is cool because I feel like that's, a lot of those kids won't have like social media, but our show's on YouTube. So like, I feel like that's the perfect age of where kids will like, fall in love just like caring about baseball.
Absolutely,
in that regard. All right. Well, on the topic of Delco, we got Episcopal as well. Played your high school ball there. Just talk a little bit about your time there. What'd you like about it? How'd they help prepare you and all that?
Yeah. So I was very lucky. I came over. I went to the public school until 8th grade. That was like the Penncrest School District, and then kind of through playing those CYO sports and whatnot, got a little bit into that private world, and basically was deciding between going to Episcopal or going to the Haverford School, and wound up going to Episcopal. I fell in love with that campus. I mean,
it's a college campus.
You can't beat it. I mean, honest to God, there was elements of it that are nicer than Penn State. Yeah. Surely not at the same size, but like the fields, the turf, the everything. I just fell in love with that school. I think I'm a little bit of like an OCD person too, so to have it laid out, it's this perfect square. You have a quad, you're walking back and forth, and the freedom that like kind of came with that. It wasn't just you're in school from 8 in the morning until 3, and it's strict and this and that. Like I had free periods, we're dropping classes. Like it was very similar to college, and I think that prepared me really, really well for college. But on an athletic end, just the resources, like that field house it was like a kid's dream. I mean, the giant field house upstairs, it had 3 basketball courts, but kind of that rubber surface. It was a great spot to do baseball. There was a drop-down cage. Our competition gym where the basketball team played is state-of-the-art, like really had a good experience for the most part in basketball. And then football was like my, I told that story earlier, but I loved it. And to be able to play for Episcopal, like those big games, I mean, Haverford EA Day is obviously a giant tradition, but that game against Malvern too is always a big deal across every sport. Like there's just something about wanting to go beat Malvern it's funny. Like I trained with Jimmy Kingsbury, and I know Shane Muntz really well too. Was training with him for a couple of years, and they're still like you're talking shit and messing with those guys because they went to Malvern, So it really never ends. But one of the coolest, I think, parts of my whole experience at Episcopal was my senior year, getting to play with my middle brother Brian. So Brian was a freshman at the time, was the backup catcher on varsity, and our starting catcher Will Park had
shout out Penn State Club baseball. Will Park
with
2 of his shoulder surgeries.
Yes, yeah. So like one of them was in high school, and so that kind of opened up a door for Brian to really step up and be the varsity catcher. So it's so funny because I mean I was 17, 18 years old at that point, and I think now as a little bit more of a experienced, like been through college, I've gotten into pro ball a little bit, just older and a little bit wiser, I would imagine. I'm looking back on that experience and like that's rare to get to throw, to not just play with, but to like literally be partners in terms of games. And there's some great pictures from that time, and it's amazing that I got to work with Brian and to throw to him, and he was my catcher for that entire season. But now I would say even more so, like I'm getting to really work with my youngest brother, Jake, who me and Jake have, I think it's an 8-year age difference. Jake's a junior at Episcopal right now. And it's amazing because when I left for college, the kid maybe came up to my waist. Like he was a baby. He was a little kid. And now, I mean, Jake's like 6'2", 205. And not only is he like a grown-looking man, but he's catching me right now, and he's catching Justin Topa. He's catching William Cuevas, who's playing in the KBO. He catches all of my minor league buddies, and he'll be the catcher at Episcopal this year, and I really think a leader on that team. I think, I don't want to put words into his mouth or put big ideas or big expectations, but like I watch him work, and his ceiling is so high. Like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, I'm his brother, but he smokes baseballs, and his receiving, like the way he's able to catch us at a super high level, like blocking, and he's working at the elements of his game that, maybe need a little bit work. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's certainly training with Rob all the time. He's trying to work on his speed. He's never been able to throw it quite as hard as, maybe he wants to, but that's actually ticked up a lot. And I think just him growing and going through, like puberty and becoming a little bit more of a man, like, his ceiling in baseball is endless. Like I think he can be doing what I'm doing. So I'm so excited to watch him play this year. And that's one of the hardest parts about, I think, going away and playing pro ball is like I miss all that. I miss the one season that maybe I really would love to see Jake play. So as amazing as it was to get to to pitch to my brother Brian, I think it's even been more rewarding for me to not only pitch to my brother Jake, but to now like kind of coach him a little bit and work with him on every element of his game, and to go through this recruiting process with him, especially knowing what I know. Like, the baseball world is so small, so there's so many different connections. Like my pitching coach with the Orioles this year is a guy, Austin Miney. He was the pitching coach at UNC Charlotte for Nate Furman.
Yeah.
And so, like, we know the Furmans together, and now, like, he's well connected with the UNC Charlotte guys. And similarly to all the coaches I had at Penn State, they just turned over their staff up there, and I've met the new ones at Penn State, so I'm connected with them. And then all of my old coaches, like the one guy I'm real close with, Dallas Burke, he's an assistant at Dartmouth. Coop's down at Miami. These people like Shea Sobrani was one of the volunteer assistants. He's the director of PBR Arizona right now. So the baseball world, like, it stays so small. And to be able to help my youngest brother, Jake, kind of at his most important part so far in his journey has been super cool, because I really think he's about to get the ball moving on some of the recruiting stuff. And I really think that, his ceiling is so high. I'm so excited to see him play this year.
It's funny. He showed up to one of our Wayne games, and I thought it was the middle brother, because I'm like, all right, so the youngest one I think is going to be a junior, and he's like, I'm like, what's up, I'm Brennan? He's like, oh, I'm Jake. I'm like, I in my head, I'm like, this is probably Brian. I'm like, you're 15 years old. Like, he goes yard in his first game, and I'm like, Jesus, like,
that was his first home run of his career. Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
jeez, yeah.
But I hope. I wouldn't be shocked if he hit 8 to 10 home runs this year. And again, I'm not trying to put crazy expectations out there, but the kid could hit. He's left-handed and catches. It's as different from me as possible. I'm like a righty pitcher, batted righty, the whole thing. So it's amazing, though. Just watching his swing. Like, I watch pretty high-level guys, especially left-handed guys, all the time, and I see so many different pieces of that in Jake's swing, and I just can't wait to see him continue to kind of come into his own and really figure it out, because I think he's got a really bright future in the game, and in life too. He's incredible in a sense that he drives this big red truck around, and dude, we had that thing in pieces, like we put a lift kit in it, we're replacing tires, he just bought a new bumper, like, the kid fishes, he's got his own little fishing, but he's just so passionate about different things in life, and it's just amazing to see him kind of putting it all together, and he knows things that I had no idea about when I was 16. Like, literally, imagine having the entire tire off of your truck up on a lift and taking off things that, like, certainly if you don't put back together, you're not going to be able to drive. And that's Jake. It's like a no-brainer. We'll watch a YouTube video and get it done, and we're doing it. So he's a great brother, and it's been a lot of fun working with him. So.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll ask one more question here before we let you go. So this is kind of a two-part question. I always like to ask people about their goals. So what would you say are, I would say, a realistic goal and a lofty goal? Like one that, you think is achievable, and one that maybe not so much, but you're going to work for.
Yeah, my short-term goal right now, I really want to go down to spring training, have a great camp, compete for a starting job in AA. I think that's likely where I'm not going to say likely where I'll start, but I think that's certainly something that I can work towards. I really, lofty goal-wise, I love being a starting pitcher. I think there's a lot of control that goes into that, and to be able to go out there, get to the yard on that day, and it's my day to take the ball and go do my thing. If I could do that, for a while in the big leagues would be my lofty goal. And I think that there's a couple of things I've done to kind of prove that, maybe it is in my future. I'm certainly pretty consistent. I've been on the field. Like, one of the hardest things in pro ball is literally just staying on the field, staying healthy. But knock on wood, in 2.5 years in pro ball, like, I haven't missed a bullpen. Thrown almost 240 innings or so, and I think that I still have a lot more to give. In fact, I ended last season a little bit sad that it was over, like, through 105 innings, and I'm like, I still have more. Like, I genuinely, I think I can keep doing this. So, long term, I'd love to sign that, big deal and play for a World Series and try to help. Like, it's funny because once you get into pro ball, right, you're working so hard towards trying to get up to the big leagues. You lose a little sight of, a Wednesday game in Aberdeen, Maryland. Like, you win or lose that game, it's not the same as maybe like playing Michigan at Penn State, where there's that big, like, this is a Big Ten game, this is Friday night, this is important to win, like, you kind of are waiting to feel that again until you hopefully get up to the show when it all matters, right? And I want to feel that again. I think I want to be on a team that's, fighting to play in October to go play in front of World Series fans. Like I was at the Phillies NLCS. I went to Game 2 and Game 6. I was really lucky to get tickets to both of those games through a few friends. And man, like to see Philly putting out like that, man, like Red October, right? And the Orioles fans are the
crazy.
same. I mean, they're crazy.
Yeah.
So, and it's an
Baseball
awesome environment. And yeah, you're seeing it right now with the Ravens too. And it's like to be a part of that, to even think about being a part of that, kind of gives me the chills. So I really think that if I could play this game long enough and at a high enough level to go and do those things, that's my dream, you know. So.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming in studio. Long time coming, but we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be keeping tabs this year. Good luck.
No, man, I appreciate that, and thank you guys for what you do too. I think this is great for Delco. It's great for baseball. It's really, really good to have somebody talking about it. And so, yeah, like I saw you at the Little League game. I know you're covering the high schools, and I certainly appreciate the coverage of my career too. And I know, you know, like my mom and dad really, really appreciate stuff like this. My friends appreciate stuff like this, and I think that for this area, it's such a hotbed of talent. I mean, both high school, college, professional. There's a lot of guys doing it. And so to have you guys be able to cover it and to keep everyone up to date, it's huge. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, best of luck this year. Stay healthy and hopefully make it out to a game.
Man.
All right. Thank you to Kyle Virbitsky for coming on the show. What a great interview. I mean, just,
awesome.
You know, a guy that's seen it all, the good and the bad. You know, he has such a wide perspective on the game, and it just, you know, it sounds cliche, but you can't teach the ability to be so locked in on getting better every day.
Yeah.
You know, like once you get to that level, the talent really kind of, in a sense, evens out. But it's, you know, it's the little things that add up to the big things that get you where you want to be. And, you know, what a bright future with him in both Baltimore and then
100%, yeah.
Just, you know, looking forward to that. Big year for the O's coming up. And we're going to talk. So usually we have like a Phillies, you know, little section and an MLB section. We're going to kind of combine them because the Phillies haven't really done anything. And me personally, I'm not as frustrated as a lot of the masses seem to be that, you know, there hasn't really been much movement going on, solely because they were a all-time collapse away from making 2 straight World Series, right? Like, I think it's frustrating. You know, but like I think it also shows confidence that, hey, like if we don't have our best players go 0 for 40, we're right there again.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably part of like a little bit of a void right now where it's just like Eagles are cooked. Flyers are now cooked.
Joel Embiid's
Carter Hart is very cooked.
Carter Hart's very cooked. Joel Embiid's knee's cooked.
Just everything's cooked. Like we need
something to be mad at.
Like Dave, just do something. Get a bench bat. We got Adam Duvall in here.
Yeah.
Why not, dude?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's frustrating in the sense of you see every other team doing something, and you know, it's like the old meme where you have the stick in the mud, where it's like do something, you know. But you know, it seemed like the biggest thing was going to be bullpen, but Josh Hader just signed a massive deal with the Astros. I would not have done that. Hector Neris, I wanted him back. He signed with the Cubs. Phil Maton, brother of former Philly Nick Maton, who I will only remember for punching his locker after Nick got a hit off him and missing the World Series in 2022.
Love that.
And he signed with the Rays. So it kind of feels like the Phillies are kind of going with the whole like let's just run it back. And I think that the bullpen might struggle a little bit until they figure some things out. But in terms of 1 to 9, I'll put that up with a lot of teams. The bench is a little bit of a question mark, but let's give the boy Wes Wilson some love.
Yeah.
I mean, his first at bat, he hit like a 440-foot homer, and it's like he's done more than, you know, like half of our bench has ever done in their career.
I will say, so the theory I've come up with in recent weeks is that if you openly claim teams and fan bases that openly claim run it back never successfully run it back. That being said, so I'm not going to claim run it back. Will not do that because I don't want to set anyone up for failure. I do like the team they have.
Yeah, I mean,
they're a very good team.
Like it all comes down to like if they can get over the mental hurdle of holy crap, we just choked away a World Series appearance. Like I deep down still think the Rangers, it was their year and we would have lost either way. Yeah. But it's just like it's crazy to me that there are so many people that like, you know, we're gonna be a last place team. Like not that exaggeration, but like we're thinking that
we're gonna be all right.
Did we do enough to leapfrog the Braves for the division? Maybe not, but as we've showed in the playoffs, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, we're 6-2 against them in the last couple years playing them in the playoffs. So I don't know. I'm excited. I think that we're gonna miss Reese just having the vibes around, but I like the team where we're at. We obviously talked about it in the interview a little bit, but the Orioles traded for Corbin Burns. They traded DL Hall, Jalen Ortiz, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't know you could trade draft picks. It's like the comp round,
maybe that's why you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you can trade
not straight up.
Like if you know they have the 13th pick in the first round, I don't think you can trade that.
No, you definitely can't.
But yeah, I guess comp ones you can. That's
like where Kevin was picked. I think like 37. It's a comp round. It's like a first round pick.
Yeah.
But no, it's an exciting time for the Orioles. I think that we covered a lot of it, in the interview. But the fact that they were the number 1 seed in the American League, and their ace was Kyle Bradish. Like, no disrespect to Kyle Bradish.
Not at all.
But
he threw very well.
He's like a elite number 2 or like an elite number 3. And I think that, as Kyle alluded to, maybe they're not done yet. Who knows? But regardless, Corbin Burns immediately, you go into a playoff series and in game 1, you're not going to get have what happened, this most recent year with the Rangers. I think that'll bring a lot to the Orioles community, having, as my old roommate Ryan Nico said, they haven't had an ace in his life. It was Chris Tillman. That was like the closest they've had to a true ace in his fandom, which is crazy to think about with all the guys that we've had here. We also have the MLB The Show cover announcement. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be on the cover of MLB The Show 24. I'm not the biggest fan of this choice.
No.
I think that over the last 2 years, they've kind of gone with people who have, let's just say, I think the popularity outweighs the talent a bit.
Yeah, definitely. That was someone tweeted about. I don't know if it was true or not, but it was they really had a dude on the cover that had a less WAR than Alec Boehm or something like that.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's like he had an elite. He hit 49 homers in a year, but the last 2 years, his OPS has been in the 700s, and I think, I'm still not over them picking Jazz Chisholm for the year before, just because it's the same thing. It's I get you want the young audience, but they're give me Julio Rodriguez or Acuna, give me a young guy who.
So there's an interesting
Adley Rutschman.
There's a weird thing with that where I again saw something on Twitter, so don't know the truth of that.
That's where we get all our news.
Yeah, that's a little bit, but that kind of a problem, kind of not. But I guess Acuna's on some kind of app. I don't know if it's Tap Baseball.
And you can't be on
Julio
a different
Rodriguez
cover.
is
The
Bigs, I believe, or Tap Baseball.
It's
Bigs.
You can't be on a different.
Yeah,
it's Embiid was on NBA Live, so you couldn't be 2K or whatever. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I just think that
there's still other picks.
Well, you said
a million other guys.
There was a theory about something with him and his dad, right?
Yeah, there was also a thing where if they go the some kind of father-son cover for not the base game will just be that cover.
Like a deluxe?
Yeah, the deluxe that you pay $30 more for I don't know.
More packs probably.
Yeah, packs.
Well, you can get Matt and Jackson Holiday. There's plenty of,
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot you could do with that. So
also random, but did you know that both Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy's dads played pro baseball?
I did. I saw that.
I don't think Brock's dad made the bigs. I'm pretty sure, but he played minor league baseball. So that's football talk right there. Last thing to pretty much wrap it up is it's kind of weird to me that there's so many big free agents still out there. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Cody Bellinger, and I think that I don't even think had Bryce signed at this time. I'm pretty sure when we signed him way back in 2019, I think it was late February, right?
He hadn't signed yet. I
don't know. I love NBA free agency. Because guys decide in 2 days, free agency starts.
Tampering.
I know, yeah, but I wish. All right, baseball should tamper. Then that's my solution. But it's just you look at basketball. It's the free agency starts at midnight, at 12:01. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are signing with the Clippers. I think it's just drawing this out. It's I don't even care where they go at this point anymore. It's just sign somewhere, and I'm not blaming them if they're not getting the offers they want. Then it's smart for them to stand by. But I don't know. I just think that. So many. We have a reigning Cy Young winner, reigning World Series champion, and a guy like Cody Bellinger that just had a huge comeback year, and they're all still out there. Those guys are going to play meaningful innings for a playoff team most likely, and they're still out there. It's crazy.
I think I saw with Snell he had a really high asking price. He wanted upper 200 million, and so that might be maybe they're waiting for a team to all else fails, and they're okay, I guess we'll give Blake Snell that money. I don't know. I think it's probably those guys are waiting for the market to come to them, and the market's waiting for those guys to come to it.
Who knows? So, maybe the O's will go out and get another
get another
Corbin and Snell little duo or something like that.
Yeah, we're playing Aaron Hicks out there, so like Cody Bellinger probably wouldn't hurt.
No. All right, well, I believe that is all we have for
No
this.
disrespect to Aaron Hicks.
No disrespect to Aaron Hicks, but I believe that's all we have for this show today. Great episode, probably one of the longest episodes that we've ever had. But
Stick with it, though. It's a good one.
Yeah, we're about a month away from high school baseball starting. Honestly, by the time this airs, I know Millersville already played at the Astro Stadium last night.
They're playing like now too.
Yeah, they're playing Tampa. They're playing a bunch of top 10 matchups there. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Shout out producer Rob for hooking us up as always. Make sure to follow us on all socials. We have a link tree in our Instagram bio that has everything, but we got Instagram and Twitter's at Delco Baseball. We got Facebook, YouTube. We have TikTok where we only pretty much just post little, show clips. We're not dancing.
We have TikTok.
We do have TikTok.
I might have to actually get TikTok if we have
I think
TikTok,
you have to,
just to further the business.
Yeah, but as always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.